Hi, good afternoon. These notes are on angles, and this should be page 107 in our notes. All right, so if we get started over on the left side, some information that we need to know, excuse me, angles are formed by two rays that have a common endpoint, which is called the vertex. You can name an angle three ways. So we can call this angle right here, we can call it angle FUN. So you start with the ray, you go to the vertex, and then you go back to the other ray. You can go in any order, so it could be NUF. Or you can call it based on the angle that's just in the middle, so angle U. Or if we put a variable or a number inside, we can just call that angle 1. So those are three different ways that we can name this angle measure. All right, so let's talk about acute angles. So acute angles are measures that are less than 90 degrees, and they look something like this. So they're a little more closed. Right angles measure exactly 90 degrees. And those form a right angle that's perpendicular, like so. And then to indicate this, you just draw a box to show that it's a right angle. Then we have obtuse angles that measure more than 90 degrees, but less than 180 degrees. And those angles look like this. And then we have a straight angle, which is exactly 180 degrees. You can also just call this a line. And those look like so. And again, they form 180 degrees, which is a nice straight line. So those are the four angle measures. We'll talk about acute, right, obtuse, and straight. So down here, we're going to do some naming. So the name of this angle is LPQ or QPL. And the type, it looks like it's greater than 90, so I'm going to call this obtuse. This angle measure is FUN or NUF, and I'm going to call this less than 90 degrees, so this is acute. This angle measure, JTW or WTJ. And this one looks like it's forming a nice perpendicular shape, so I'm going to call this a right angle. All right. Next, we have angles called complementary angles and supplementary angles. And this is when you're comparing two or more angles whose sum is equal to 90 degrees. And then supplementary angles, two or more angles whose sum equals 180 degrees. So if we look at this problem right here, angle 54 degrees right here, plus angle A, they have a total of 90 degrees. So we can write an equation. A plus 54 is equal to 90. So what plus 54 gives you 90? Well, we know that this is a one-step equation, so we're going to subtract 54 from both sides. And 90 take away 54 is 36. All right. If we look at these two angles, well, supplementary is two or more angles whose sum is 180 degrees, so they form a straight line. So angle G plus angle 106 degrees have a total sum of 180. So let's write that equation. So G plus 106, their sum is 180. We know how to solve that one-step equation. Subtract 106 from both sides. And 180 minus 106 is a difference of 74. So G is equal to 74 degrees. Okay, so that's how you take care of a complementary and a supplementary angle. So what I would like for you to do is to go ahead and try this problem. This one, you will have to realize what D is based on this symbol, and then you can compare that to the other side to find E. So go ahead and take care of these three problems over here. And now we're going to move to the right side. So the right side also talks about some more angle relationships, vertical angles and adjacent angles. Vertical angles are when two angles formed opposite each other when two lines intersect or cross. So for example, if you draw the line and you draw another line right here, vertical angles, and I'm going to get my highlighter, vertical angles right here. So those two little yellow, I don't know if you can see them, that angle and that angle, these two are opposite of each other and they're congruent. So they are actually identical to each other. So congruent means equal. Well, if these two are vertical, then that means that these two right here are also vertical, and therefore those two are also congruent. So I'll color those in blue. Those two angle measures, the two blue ones, are also congruent to each other. The yellow are congruent to each other, the blue are congruent to each other, but the blue and yellow are not the same. Okay. Then we have adjacent angles. And adjacent angles are two angles that are side by side and have a common vertex and side. So this is what I mean by adjacent angles. So if I have the two intersecting lines, my adjacent angles are going to be this blue one and this red one. Okay. They're adjacent because they share this vertex right here and they have this same side that they share. Okay, so those are adjacent. So now what I would like for you to do is I would like for you to look at this picture and they want you to tell me what is the relationship between A and B, so A and B. And it says they want you to identify as vertical or adjacent and then identify a pair of adjacent and vertical angles. And then X and Y, what are those to each other? Then over here, which two are vertical and which two are adjacent. So use your definitions up here to try to answer those two. All right, so then what you're going to do after you try these two is you're going to practice some problems down here. So let me help you with some that are a little bit more challenging so that you're not getting too confused by yourself. So if we take this problem right here, this is very similar to this problem. Okay, so what do we do over here? We added G plus 106 equals 180 because it forms a straight line. We're going to do the exact same thing over here. So 6x plus 12x, 6x plus 12x, they form a straight line right here. And what is a line's degrees? 180. So they're supplementary. And then boom, that's a nice equation that we know how to solve. Combine like terms. 6x plus 12x is 18x. 18x equals 180. Divide by 18. And 180 divided by 18 is 10. So x equals 10. Now if x equals 10, so that's one of our answers. if x equals 10, then that means that this has to be 6 times 10, which this makes this 60 degrees. And that would be 12 times 10, because you're putting the 10 in for x, and that would be 120 degrees. And then look at that. 60 plus 120 is 180 degrees. And that should work every time. Okay, so that's how you do that kind of problem. Similarly over here, except for instead of it being equal to 180, well, these are complementary, so you're going to add these two to equal to 90. And then here, you need to look at the relationship that these are vertical, and vertical angles are congruent. So congruent means to be equal. So then you're going to set these equal to each other. So 5x equals 155 because they're the same amount. So this is equal to 155. So what would x have to be? All right, and then down here, they want you to find the complement of each angle, and complement means it adds to be 90. So 85 plus what gives you 90? And then find the supplement of each angle. So 130 plus what gives you 180. So go ahead and try those, pause your video, and then when you've finished, unpause the video, and then you can check your answers. All right, and here are the answers. So over on the left side, I added W plus 77 and got 90. I subtracted 77 from both sides and got a difference of 13. So W is 13 degrees. Here I found that D was 90 because of the symbol here. And then I said 90 plus E plus 24 gives me 180 degrees. And then I added 90 and 24, subtracted from 180 and got 66. So E is 66. Over here on the right side for the practice, I got that A and B were vertical, X and Y were vertical. And then I also added this extra one in here. X and B are adjacent, just so that we talked about adjacent angles. And then right here, I labeled my vertical angles E and H because they are opposites of each other and they're the same angle measure. G and F are opposites of each other and they're the same angle measure. And then adjacent angles are the ones that are touching. So E and G are touching, so those are adjacent. And then H and F are adjacent, and so those are the ones that go here. Then down here for missing angles, here are my answers for my practice problems. So I said 9 plus X plus 45 adds to be 180 degrees because those all three together are supplementary. I then added 9 and 45 and got 54 and subtracted from both sides, and my remainder was 126. So X equals 126, which gives me that value. Right here, it was kind of like a puzzle. You had to find one to find the other. So the first thing I knew was Y was 90, so I put that in there. Then I knew if Y was 90, then Z and 30 make 90. So then I knew that that had to be 60. So then Z was 60, so I was able to put that here. And then X is vertical to this angle right here, which is why I colored them in. So if this is 30, then that's 30, so X is 30. And then W and this angle of 30 make 150 or make 180, so I knew that W had to be 150. So that's how I got W was 150. All right. Down here, I know that 6x plus 12x gives me 180. So then that gives me 18x equals 180, which gives me x is 10. So if x is 10, then this has to be 60, and that has to be 120. Right here, these are complementary angles. So 2x plus x adds to be 90. And 3x equals 90, which means that x is 30. And then I took the answer of 30 and put it in for x. So that's 60 degrees, and that's 30 degrees. And then this last one here, 5x is vertical to 155. So vertical angles, if you look at your notes, vertical angles are congruent, and congruent means to be equal. So that's why I was able to say 5x equals 155. And then that means that x is equal to 31. So our last few examples that we wanted to practice, we're talking about complement and supplement of each angle. So 85 plus 15 would give me 90. 42 plus 48 would give me 90. And 13 plus 77 would give me 90. So all those are the complement of each other. Right here, they ask for supplement, and supplement adds to be 180 degrees. So 30 plus 50 is 180, 65 plus 115 is 180, and 9 plus 171 is 180 degrees. All right, if you have any comments or if you see any mistakes, go ahead and comment at the bottom of the video. And if not, I hope you guys have a great day and a great afternoon, and I will talk to you later.